Okay. Today, as usual, we have prepared ourselves to listen to another exposition of the Lord Buddha's teaching. Before we commence today's sermon, let us all take a moment to remind ourselves that with us right now is our only refuge, the only path there is to our salvation, to our liberation, the only hope of liberation that we have, that we will ever come across. This is why we take refuge in the Noble Triple Gem. Those who seek refuge are those who are helpless, hopeless. That is what it means to take refuge, to realize that throughout this life in samsara, we have never managed to find that which we have been looking for, and having finally come across the teaching of the Buddha, having finally witnessed that the Noble Triple Gem is the only way we can achieve what we are looking for. That is an eternal bliss, an eternal happiness. Hence we take refuge in the Noble Triple Gem. So just before we do that, let us reflect first of all on one of the infinite virtues and qualities of one of the Noble Triple Gem, and that is the Supreme Buddha, He who is the Enlightened One, the Perfect One, the Omniscient One, the Magnificent One, the Unvanquished One, the Undefeated One, the Unfallible One. Let us all take a moment to pledge our allegiance to Him as our teacher, to take an oath, a solemn oath, to henceforth consider ourselves His students, for no reason other than to achieve our liberation, and that remains the only path to be able to do so. Reminding ourselves of His infinite compassion, let us all be upstanding to recite the Dhirasya Vigata Mohasya stanzas, to pledge our allegiance to the Lord Buddha, followed by which we will observe the precepts, invite the Devas, and commence today's sermon. Dhirasya Vigata Mohasya Abhinna Khilasya Vijita Vijayasya Anighasya Susamachittasya Buddha Silasya Sadhu Panyasya Vesantarasya Vimalasya Bhagavato Tasya Savako Hamasmi Akatankatisya Tusitasya Vantalokamisasya Muditasya Kata Samanasya Manujasya Antima Sarirasya Narasya Anopamasya Virajasya Bhagavato Tasya Savako Hamasmi Akatankatisya Tusitasya Vantalokamisasya Muditasya Kata samanassa manujassa antima sarirassa narassa anopamassa virajassa bhagavato tassa savako hamasmi. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Please repeat all together and after me. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Saranagamaṇaṃ sampunnaṃ. Pānātipātā vēramaṇī sikkhāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi. Adinādāna vēramaṇī sikkhāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi. Kāmesu miccāchārā vēramaṇī sikkhāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi. Musāvādā vēramaṇī sikkhāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi. Surāmēraya majjapamā daṭṭhānā vēramaṇī sikkhapadam samadhiyami. Tisaranena saddhin panchasilang dhammang sadukang surakkitang katva appamadena sampadeta. Okay, you may all now be seated. As practitioners of noble compassion, we must always be cognizant about the fact that there are many countless beings destitute in samsara who need every helping hand that is offered to them to help them redeem themselves from this eternal riddle of suffering. We were among them at one point. They were the noble ones, the compassionate ones, who were there to offer and extend a helping hand. And it is thanks to them today we are able to listen to the teaching of the Buddha and to find our salvation. It is now the time to pass on that gift, to extend a helping hand to others who need our help. So as we embark on this meritorious deed, on this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to listen to the teaching of the Buddha, let us extend this opportunity to all those countless beings that we have left behind in samsara, those beings we will be leaving behind as we make progress towards the end of this journey. But before we are off, we need to pass on the gift of Dhamma to them, as this is the only refuge that is available to all sentient beings. So therefore, as I now make an invitation out to all the devas, brahmas, spirits, demons, those who have predeceased us, who may be born in the human Gandhabba realm, but are yet unable to listen to the teaching, to acquire merits, and to achieve their salvation. Let us extend this invitation out to all those beings, wherever they may be in these 10,000 world systems. I ask you all to extend that invitation in your hearts and in your minds with infinite compassion, as well as a sense of gratitude and indebtedness. Invite them to join us. Invite them to witness this meritorious deed, just as once they helped you in your difficult times, just as once they came to your rescue when you needed it. Today, you are in a prime position to help them and to give them a helping hand. So extend that arm of assistance to all of them. May they join us, may they witness this meritorious deed. If any of them are in the woeful plains, may they acquire such merits, and may those merits help them to redeem themselves from such woeful states and be born in the blissful plane. For those beings in the blissful plane, may they be able to listen to the teaching of the Buddha, understand it, comprehend it, and may they all be able to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. So with that resolve and compassion emanating from your hearts out to all sentient beings, as I now make this invitation, I want you all to invite them to join us, to witness this meritorious deed, to listen to the teaching of the Buddha, and to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Samanta Chakravalesu Atra Gacchantu Devata Saddhammang Munirajassa Sunantu Sagga Mokkadang Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta. Okay. With all of you present here now, let us all take a moment before we begin this sermon to seek forgiveness from the Noble Triple Gem, the Noble Ones, the Sambuddha Shasana, for any thoughts, words or actions of revile, desecration and insult or slander we might have directed towards them. This may have happened either knowingly or unknowingly, as we were in the presence and association of ignoble, immoral beings. The consequences of such actions may be that today, as we try to make effort to redeem ourselves from suffering, that becomes incredibly difficult. Various factors come and block and hinder our progress. This may be the result of such events. So therefore, before we commence today's sermon, let us all take a moment to seek their forgiveness. From the Samma Sambuddhas, the Pacceka Buddhas, Arahata Buddhas, Anagamis, Sakrudagamis, Sotapannas, be they on the path of having attained the fruits, as well as the Buddha's ministry, the Sambuddha Shasana, for any thoughts, words or actions of revile, desecration, slander or insult we might have directed towards them, may we be forgiven. And as you seek that forgiveness, I remind you to make a firm resolve to never find yourself offending or insulting the noble ones, the noble triple gem, ever again. And finally, let us make a firm resolve. May through the course of this sermon, if the gaps have remained in my understanding, which have thus far kept me from achieving the noble state of Sotapanna, may through the course of this sermon such gaps be fulfilled. May I be able to understand the teaching. May I be able to comprehend it. May all merits that I have accumulated throughout this long journey in samsara come to my refuge, come to my rescue at this moment in time, and may through the power and the blessings of such merits I be able to attain the state of Sotapanna. For any of you who may have already achieved that noble state, may through the course of this sermon you be able to fulfill the subsequent stages and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. With that firm resolve, deep-seated in your hearts and in your minds, I invite you all to prepare yourselves to listen to this sermon. Okay. We had a meditation session last week. A week has gone by, and if you have reflected on what was discussed and put what you have learned and understood into practice, I swear to you, you will begin to realize a very clear distinction between that which you feel and sense as being the self and this body. That in itself is a major victory. I gave you some homework last week. I believe that each and every one of you will have taken some time to do that, as you are all good students. I'd like to ask you what your experiences are when you put that into practice. What did you experience? What did you realize? How did you begin to feel? if you would have practiced it diligently, then you will have begun to feel that the burden has begun to lighten. There's an invisible load. It's an invisible burden. You can't quite put your finger on it, but it's there. Not to be seen, but it's there. It's like an apparition. You've been carrying its weight, not just in this birth, but throughout your journey in samsara. It's always been there. But it's very difficult to spot, to locate. I ask you to reflect on what we talked about last week during the course of your day-to-day activities, such as when you wake up in the morning, go to the washroom and brush your teeth, brush your hair, get dressed. I believe you will have done what I have asked you to do. You will know if you have done what I have asked you to do. How? Because you will feel that the burden is lighter. That is how you know that you have done what needs to be done. The burden is lighter. The load is lighter. You feel lighter. You truly do. You feel lighter. Because the weight of all this baggage, the weight of self-induced baggage that is suffering begins to reduce. That which could bring you insult can no longer bring you insult. Do you remember the days when people used to be able to call you various names which resembled the way you looked, aspects of your physique, the fact that you were either, within inverted commas, too short or too tall compared to the average, or too fat, or perhaps too thin, too fair or too dark compared to the average, that which was considered to be average. Perhaps you had less hair than is average. Perhaps you had more, either on the head or all over your body. These are all aspects which catch people's attention. Because the thing is, people don't realize that the real you lives inside the shell. So therefore they pass remarks based on what they see on the outside. You can't change people. They'll always be people, and they'll always be doing what people do. People do people things. You can't change that. But you can change the way you think. Because when you change, the way that people acted towards you, its effect begins to change. You will begin to experience this as the lightening of the load. Sometimes perhaps even you felt that you didn't like the way you looked. You can't tell me that each and every one of you, virtually each and every one of you, will have one day stood in front of the mirror, looked at yourself within inverted commas, in the mirror, and thought to yourself, I wish ... something. Right? You'll all have done that at some point in your lives. I wish I was taller. I wish I had more hair. I wish I had less hair. I wish I had pointy eyes. I wish I was fairer. I wish I was darker. You can't tell me that you've never done this. It's very natural, this, but at the same time it's very artificial. It's very natural because it seems to be what everyone does. It's become the new normal. This never used to be the normal. It became the new normal. They don't have mirrors in the Brahma worlds, I tell you, because the Brahmas don't go in front of a mirror and look themselves up. They still delight in the subtle bodies that they have, but not quite the way that you do. But we all have at some point stood in front of the mirror and evaluated ourselves, right? Evaluated ourselves by what we saw in the mirror. It may be that you still do this. I'm telling you, what you're doing there is really creating a stick for your own back. You will get a copy of the latest fashion magazines. You'll go online and search for the latest beauty trends. And now you'll have an opinion on what is ideal. And now you begin to change yourself, at least evaluate yourself based on what you have seen in the magazine, what you have seen on television, what you have seen on fashion TV. When you have an impression of what is ideal, then you will begin to change yourself according to that. Unfortunately, you don't realize that what you're changing is not something that can ever be fixed. It's in a state of constant flux, both on the outside as well as on the inside. So physically as well as mentally. That which you're evaluating, it's constantly changing. It's almost like you can't do a control experiment, because there is nothing that can stay fixed. But honestly, ask yourself, if you've not stood in front of the mirror and asked it, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the ... of them all? No, it varies for each and every one of you. Some of you, it will be who's the tallest of them all, because that is what your image of ideal looks is, your image of perfection. Tall. For some of you, just want to be short. Who's the shortest of them all? Who's the fairest of them all? Who's got the longest hair of them all? Who's got the whitest teeth of them all? Who's got the straightest teeth of them all? Mine's a bit wonky. This is how you have evaluated yourself. Do you remember when you had that first pimple on your forehead, on your cheeks? You walked up to the mirror and you examined it like you had just discovered a new species. Do you remember that day? Do you recall the thoughts that went through your mind? Did you not begin to feel that you are changing and you're not sure how you felt about that. Some of you were pretty disturbed by it, weren't you? Isn't that why you started to pluck on it? Some of you thought, oh, finally. Now it works both ways. All depends on what your view on that is. So you can see, there is no such thing as a good thing or a bad thing. Preferences are always depending on what your view is on it, what your take is on it. You all remember that day, don't you? And you all have a similar day when you see that first grey hair, either on your chin, or on your cheeks, or on your head, or on your chest, in your armpits, wherever. When you see that first grey hair, and then you give yourself a label, don't you? Sometimes you don't like that. Most people don't. And then they want to change the way it looks, because they feel like nature is being unkind to them. I didn't expect a grey hair until I was 78. I'm only 52. How come I've got a grey hair already? Some of the thoughts that will come through, flush through your mind. Or do you remember that first wrinkly skin? That extra fold that started to appear? Or maybe it was freckles for some of you. Do you remember these things? You can't tell me you didn't walk up to a mirror. Do you remember the first time you saw yourself in a mirror? You were introduced to a mirror. Do you remember the first time you were introduced to a mirror? Do you remember seeing yourself in the mirror for the first time? How did you feel? Ask me, that's like opening the Pandora's box. Because right in front of you stood a whole world. Some of you went, wow. Others went, what? Didn't you? Some of you went, I'm not too bad looking after all. Others went, now I see why they call me ugly. Do you remember that day? Do you remember that first black spot? On your face? How close did you move to the mirror? Do you remember that day? Any closer and you would have been one with the mirror. You only stopped because had you gone any closer, you would not be able to see it. Do you remember that day? What was the next thing you did? Those of you who grew up with the internet, you know exactly what you did. You called in your best friend. Mr. Google, what's this black thingy on my face? How do you get rid of these black things on your face? I can't think that there can be many of you who have freckles and would not have Googled, how do I get rid of freckles? I can't think of many of you who, when they had pimples, either went and asked someone or perhaps done an internet search. How do you get rid of these things? Do you remember? You know, youth is a very interesting time, isn't it? I remember in grade 9, I learned about changes to the body. That's when we were introduced to health science as a subject, if I recall correctly. And in there were some very interesting chapters, I must say. It had answers to some very curious questions that I had. And it also taught me to be happy with my body. In the textbooks were sheets of information that said, you are perfect the way you are. It said, don't go to compare yourself with others. It's fine to have freckles. It's fine to have pimples. It's all part of growing up. Just be happy about it. Be happy with that. Be happy with what you have, because your body is beautiful, it said. I didn't quite agree with what some of my friends used to say. And with all the rumors going around about why young boys get pimples, the last thing you want is to have a lot of them on your cheeks or your foreheads. All those rumors. Or you get pimples because you do this, don't you? You know what I mean. But then the pages of the book said, you're beautiful the way you are. You're perfect the way you are. So more and more did we all not begin to accept that this is who we are. We are perfect, we are beautiful the way we are. All our differences are all part of who we are. It's perfectly fine, it's great, it's the best that God's given us. And we are not to question. So you see, even a tiny pimple. How many young boys and girls do you think are out there that spend hours of their human life trying to fix a pimple? That's why I don't like the word pimple. I call them paupal. Because you can't be having a pimple if you've done ping. But how many young boys and girls do you think out there spend many hours either ego surfing or talking to their friends, getting themselves various cosmetics, trying to get rid of that stubborn pimple, or treating their skin to get rid of black spots? They don't see that there's a much larger black spot, don't they? Do they? This is because we have all accepted that this body is the self. The unwise and the ignoble will have readily accepted that the body is the self. And along with that, all the things that happen to the body are things that happen to oneself. One of you had asked a question I think in last week's sermon. So am I referring to the self as the mind here? Yes. So I'm taking a few steps back, and that's fine. That's the way we need to progress. We take 3 steps forward, then take 2 steps back again, and then another 3 steps forward, and take 2 steps back again. But we're only moving 1 step forward. Yes, that's fine. At the end of the day, we're moving 1 step forward. If you go back and revisit some of the sermons we did a few weeks before the meditation session, I tried to explain to you that the notion of a self is completely irrational. So there can't be a self, full stop. But indeed, what I'm asking you to think of now is the mind as being the self, or at least where the self is made, where the self is sensed, where the self lives. And think of the body as the shell. Remember last week I talked about the tortoise. I talked about a guy wearing a t-shirt. So like the body lives enclosed by the t-shirt, like the tortoise lives within its shell, I want you to think about this self, which is the mind for the time being, living inside this shell. It's just a temporary abode. I think you all understand what I mean. Because we have always learned that there's 2 things, the mind and the body. And what I'm asking you to do is take that 1 step further. This sense of an identity, the sense of a personality. What I'm saying is, instead of considering that to be present in both body and mind, let's draw a line in the sand and say, it's got to be in the mind because it's not in the body. We have established, and it's quite easy to do that, we've talked about various examples in the past. Cutting off a limb of the body does not make you feel that you are less of who you are, right? Your identity, your personality, it doesn't shrink when you shrink in size. So clearly, what you sense as a self, what you sense as your personality is not the body. This is why I'm continuing that conversation. And yes, and I have gone back a couple of steps. Because until you break this connection, as I phrased it last week, this sentimental attachment to the body, there is no point in me talking to you about, well, actually it's not in the mind either. This is a step-by-step process. So we need to tread carefully, step by step. So mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the skinniest of them all? Did you not ask that question of the mirror? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's got the plumpest lips of them all? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's got the best V shape of them all, or the best hourglass shape of them all? If you've ever been to a gym, you've not seen what the sort of things that people do before, during, and after their workout. Have you not realized that they have lots of mirrors in gyms? So they can always keep asking that question. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's got the biggest biceps of them all? So they'll walk up to the mirror, clench their fist, fold their arms at the elbow, and then they'll ask the question, who's got the biggest biceps of them all? People who've got a six-pack, they like to flaunt their bodies. Most of them, I can't say all of them, most of them. I'm not sure what it's like in Sri Lanka. I've not gone to the beaches a lot, but when I was in the UK, I remember if you went to the beach on a sunny day, a lot of people who've got, as they say, fit bodies will flaunt them. They will cover up the bits that they must cover, otherwise they get put in prison. Everything else is on display. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying I want you to think why people do that. What has made people do that? They even have competitions now, don't they? Now, I mean, it's always been around. Miss World. Isn't that trying to find the answer to who's the ... of them all? They'll have a representative from each country. So they've already been elected as the fairest. Okay, let's use that for the time being. The fairest in that country, and then they get put forward to be elected or selected as the of them all. So now they have Miss Universe. I have wondered, when Miss World is the most beautiful person in the world, who Miss Universe is. Surely they must pick Miss World and send them to Jupiter or somewhere. They must have some competitions there. They must have Miss Saturn, Miss Uranus, Miss Pluto, Miss Mars. They probably all walk down the catwalk, down the platform, and it must happen, right? Otherwise, how do you get to become Miss Universe? Oh no, that would be Miss Solar System, I forget. We're talking about the universe. So that includes the 31 world systems, not just this world system, but many hundreds of thousands of world systems. Can you imagine what the deities or the goddesses in the most primitive Deva worlds, the Chatur Maharajike, must be looking at? This woman who gets elected, or the lady who gets elected as Miss Universe. Can you imagine what that goddess must be thinking? I don't want to be rude, so I'm not going to say anything. Do you see how people give themselves value by the shell that they carry around with them. You know, you've got to stop and think for a moment, right, folks? Just think about this for a second. If I were to give you a toffee that's wrapped in wrapping paper, toffee wrapping paper, foil, and now you remove the wrapper, you throw away the toffee, and you keep the wrapper, what would you want me to think about you? What do you think I might think about you? So I've given you a toffee, you unwrapped it, you've thrown away the toffee, and you are talking about the wrapper. You're turning it all around, you're stretching it, you're folding it, you're waving it in the air, and you're playing with it, and you're telling me, thank you so much for giving me this. It's beautiful. It's the best thing I've seen. If that's what you're telling me, and you've thrown the toffee in the bin, what should I be thinking about you? How should I feel about you? Your call, okay? So whatever you think I should feel about you, now think about, if there's someone that's flaunting the shell, and not the inside, the shell. Look at this. Look at how beautiful this is. So this is the wrapper. Can you understand, can you see, can you realize how much they consider that their shell is more them than themselves? They seek value through what value people place on the shell. They seek the shell to be appreciated. Isn't that why they flaunt it? I know I'm taking an extreme example here, but if you bring it closer to home, haven't you all done that at some point in life? Walked up to the mirror, stood in front of it, moved your weight across to the left leg, moved your weight across to the right leg, and examined how you look in the mirror, and thought to yourself, if I just, I don't know, if I were only a shade lighter, if only I had a couple of less inches around my waist, if you had a magic wand and we were able to grant you that wish, would you not feel better at that point in time? Almost immediately. Now you had a magic wand, right? Hocus pocus, you wave the wand, and 2 seconds later you've lost the amount of inches you want, the number of inches you want from around your waistline. Would you not feel better? Isn't that why people go under the knife? I'm not saying all of them, because for some of them it's for medical reasons. They've got too much around the waist. If it doesn't come off, then that has a serious impact on their lifespan. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking more about doing it for cosmetic reasons. It's the way you look. Do you see how the way you look has a huge impact on the way you feel? I'm asking you to spend some time in front of the mirror this week. I know it's nothing new, done that enough times, but today I'm asking you to do it with a new perspective, with a different set of lenses. Take off the old lenses, put on some new lenses. Take off the old glasses, put on these glasses. Now look at it. You heard me say that? Look at it. Yes, it. Do you see a huge burden? It's not the body, the attachment to the body. Considering this to be yourself, do you see how much of a burden that is? Because, one of the things I learned in technology is that whenever you design a system, you've got to reduce its surface area. Because the more you expose yourself, the more surface there is for an intruder to attack you. So the more components you have, the more components that can break down. It applies across all disciplines. Now, when you consider yourself to be the body, have you not just increased your attack surface area? What do I mean by this? Well, if you don't consider yourself to be the body, then insults that are directed at you, resembling your physical attributes, cannot insult you. But what if someone makes a compliment, Swamin once, I can hear you ask me. Most of my friends say that I'm very beautiful, I'm very handsome. That's what most of my friends say. Yes, I agree. Not that you're beautiful, but I agree that people say that about you. That makes you happy though, doesn't it? Remember Toys R Us? Anything that makes you happy is not something that brings you happiness. How's that for your philosophical musings? Anything that makes you happy is not something that brings you happiness. Try saying that to the next guy you meet on the street. Anything that makes you happy does not bring you happiness. He'll say it's bus number 154 to Angoda. Anything that makes you happy does not bring you happiness. Indeed. So when someone compliments you on the way you look, as I'm saying these things, I want you to think about, I want you to think about life experiences. Yoniso Manasikara. Right? Use the Dhamma, put it into your life experiences, because you have plenty of that. See how much this rings true with your life experiences. When you're at a party, remember the last time you went to a party? Could have been a wedding, some other function. When you got out of your car, or whatever vehicle you got to get there, did you not adjust yourself first before getting off the car? Did you not look in the rear view mirror? Now you turn it towards you and you adjust yourself, right? Check your hair. And half of the human race, they carry a handbag with them, don't they? For quick checks. So they'll have a mirror in it. Open it up and quickly check that everything is in order. This is like a pre-flight check. Makeup, check. Mascara, check. Lipstick, check. Powder, yep, check. Oil, need a little bit more. Hairspray, a little bit more of that. Isn't that your first aid kit? Sorry, I know I'm having a mean day today. It must be the dana that you give us. What are you putting in it? Lots of meanness. I'm feeling mean today. That bag you carry around with you, is that not your first aid kit? Because when you're wounded, you look in the mirror and you're now wounded. Now you're injured, aren't you? Because you look in the mirror and you ask the question, mirror, mirror in my bag, who's the fairest of them all? Not you. Now you're wounded. So, when you're wounded, what must you reach out for? The first aid kit. Thankfully you have one that goes on your shoulder or in your hand. You carry that around with you. So in there you got some brushes, you got some powders, you got some spirits, some liquids, some sprays. What are they? What is that first aid for? A wounded soul, isn't it? I'm a wounded soul, so I carry my first aid kit with me just in case. And then after a meal, do you remember how you rush to the washroom and you check your teeth in the mirror? Just in case you got something stuck between your teeth. You know, when someone says you've got something between your teeth, does that not make you feel a little bit uncomfortable? Just a tiny bit. And you say, oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. And then you turn around to someone you know, and then you first ask, which one is it? Where is it? And then you close your lips, and your tongue is now, it's like digging for gold. It's like, it's a scanner, like Malum scanner, around your teeth, on inside, outside. It's looking for it everywhere. And you turn to, say you're in a party and someone says, oh, excuse me, I think you've got something between your teeth. Oh, I'm so sorry. And you turn towards someone you know, hopefully, your partner, and you say, where is it? Is it gone now? Is it gone now? Is it gone now? No, it's still there. What? And then you'll start digging it. And then you don't know which finger to use. Is your thumb going to be too big? Is it your little finger, your middle finger? Is it going to look funny? Do you not remember? I am talking about the human race. Yeah, I'm not saying next time someone says, you've got something between your teeth, well, tough. That's the way it is. I like it this way. I'm not saying say that, but what I'm saying is, it shouldn't hurt you, but it does, doesn't it? I've heard some people say when say there's something between your teeth, say, yeah, I'm saving for later. I'm not saying that is necessarily has to be the response. What I'm saying is, does that not hurt you? Just a wee bit, just a tiny bit. Does it not hurt you? You are willing to admit, right? I mean, let's accept that we have a problem here to solve. Otherwise, you needn't be on this sermon. So they invented toothpicks or floss, dental floss. You got one of them in your first aid kit. First aid for the broken soul. Let's have a rummage in there. What else do you have in there? Come on. Do you not have a tiny tube of toothpaste? And do you not sometimes blow into your hand and see if your mouth smells a bit odd? A funny smell coming from your mouth. Do you not do that sometimes? Are you doing that only out of infinite grace for the humankind? It's not good to put anyone in discomfort. So I must always check myself. Is that the reason you're doing it? Or is it not because the way your mouth smells, you feel, is a huge part of your identity? Are you not worried that people might start calling you Katagandaya? That smelly mouth. You're not worried. At least they might start thinking that way. I'm asking you, when someone says, I think there's a bad smell coming from your mouth, does that not hurt you? Just a tiny bit. Come on. You want to nod. Oh, no, Swaminatha, no, I'm not like that. I'm not asking what your mouth is saying, I'm asking what is your mind saying. What if you've got some earwax in your ear? And someone points that out to you. Excuse me, I think you've got some earwax in your ear. Oh, which one? Is it this one? No, the other one. Is it gone now? How embarrassed do you feel when sometimes you sneeze and, there's snot all over the place? In those times, if you were in the middle of the crowd, did you not feel like it would have been good if you could order a rope, so online, so you can kind of put a rope around your neck and go hang yourself? Was that not a bullet that pierced your very personality, your self of identity? But you see, none of these things are to do with the mind. They're all to do with the physical body. And see, I'm trying to put sense into you, and I want you to admit, right? Because there's no point fooling around. I want you to admit that there's a problem. I don't want you to be fake anagamis. There's no point in that. Now, say what you like to me, it doesn't hurt me one bit. Don't be a fake anagami. Just as much as you shouldn't be a fake sotapanna. Because there's one guy you can't make a sotapanna. Who do you think that is? That's a fake sotapanna. One who thinks he's a sotapanna cannot be made a sotapanna. Or one who is at least firmly in the belief that he's a sotapanna, he or she. One who is adamant, I'm an anagami. Don't you be telling me otherwise. I'm an anagami, don't you dare challenge me. I'm an arahat. Watch your words. How dare you insult me? I'm an arahat. So fake arahants, we can't help them. So I'm saying, get off your moral high horses, right? Get your feet on firm ground, right? And let's admit who you really are. Let's admit how you really feel. To hell with those egos. Put that in the bin. Because I can't penetrate you otherwise with that shell of ego around you. Right, if you're all firmly grounded, then I ask you again this question. If you were to sneeze and you got snot all over the place, it's on your clothes, it's on your hands, it gets on the other person's body also, how embarrassed do you feel then? Do you not feel at those moments like your body has failed you? See? Or when how sometimes, you have to sneeze. And when some people sneeze, sneezes come in various shapes and sizes, don't they? Some people sneeze, people look around, where's the elephant? And other people sneeze, did you just hear a mouse squeak? Right? So you got two ends of the spectrum and everything in between. So sneezes come in weird and wonderful shapes and sizes. Right? So if you know that if you think, it's not you think that you have a weird sounding sneeze. Right? When you sneeze and people think, I thought I left the cat home. Right? So if you are someone who has a sneeze like that, if you have to sneeze when there's a crowd, do you not feel embarrassed? Just a tiny bit. No, okay, not huge amounts. I'm saying, just a tiny bit. Why? Because you're carrying a huge burden. Gents, got a question for you. When you're clad in your suits and boots, when you go somewhere, and you want to look important, what is one of the things you do? Let's say you're sat down on a chair, right? You're in your suits, you're in your boots, you got some nice shoes. Right? What is one of the things you might do to look important? Yeah, what is it? One leg on the other. So you fold it at the knee and one leg on the other. Does that not make you feel important? Come on, admit it. And then you start shaking your tail like a dog wags its tail. Sorry, shake your foot. Sorry, I didn't mean to say tail. You start shaking your foot like a dog wags its tail. Does that not make you feel important? Or sometimes when you cross your arms, does that not make you feel important? Oh, it gets better. Doesn't the size of your piritnula make you feel important? I'm not saying that's always the case, but some people, they have like lots of piritnula. So piritnula, for people who aren't familiar, is a bit of thread, right? White in color. So it's when the monks at the temple, they chant Pirit, they try to so it's almost like embodying in it the blessings of the chanting, right? And then that goes around a person's wrist, normally on the right hand, in Theravada Buddhist cultures. But has that not become a sort of a fashion trend? You want me to stop? I'm creeping into all those dirty nooks and corners, aren't I? In your mind. This is normally to be seen with guys. They'll wear a piritnula, not just one, but about 500. And that's enough to tie an elephant. They'll have so many piritnula on their hand, and that is it's a symbol. It's a fashion statement. The Pirit that was chanted, if you studied the words, if you studied the actual sutras, the contents of that, it talks about the futility of the body. Attimasmin kaye kesa loma naka danta tacho mansanna haru atti minja. It talks about the futility of the body, that this body is not to be taken as something that is beautiful, that is pleasant, that is pleasurable. And the piritnula that has been chanted is tied around someone's wrist, and they use that to flaunt themselves. Can you see the irony? Sometimes they'll tie it so thick. They'll have it so thick so that when you get on a stage and you start waving your arms, people right at the back of the audience can see that, oh, you must be a Buddhist. So it's become a showcase. Is this hurting your ego? No, I'm sorry. What about when you go to observe Sil? Right, and you have the Sil Red. That scarf that goes around your upper body to a side, diagonally. Are you not very particular about how it's folded? It has to be pressed, mustn't it? And what white must it be? Brilliant white, right? Or is it gloss white? Which one? What happens if someone comes and maybe bumps into you and they spill some of their some gilampasa? If they spill their tea on your silred, what happens to you then? Why did you don it on yourself in the first place? Was it not to tell the world that my mind, I'm trying to cleanse my mind, I'm trying to make my mind pure, like this piece of cloth. But the moment someone comes and bumps into you and some of their tea spills on your silred, now what happens? All hell breaks loose. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Are you not very particular about the fact that it needs to be neat, it needs to be tidy, pleated, spotless? Your silred? And you can't just get any old silred, right? It has to be branded. Which one do you like, polyester or cotton? Oh, it has to be, do you like the silk one instead? Is this hurting you? Is this hurting your ego? No? Sure? I'll come back to the gents. In case someone spots that you've got your flyer open and says, I think you've got your... How embarrassed do you feel? How embarrassed do you feel about that? Either the fact that buttons come loose, right? Or, your flyers open, or your shoelaces come undone. Why does that hurt you? Isn't that because you consider this body to be you? Isn't that why it's hurting you? So I'm saying, get off your moral high horse. Firmly ground yourself and allow these words to sink through your mind and cleanse those defilements, folks. You are suffering unnecessarily. I'm showing you that you suffer unnecessarily. Because you never think about these things. Let's say you're in the office, right, and something happens. Say you got your pen in your shirt pocket, and either your pen is leaked in your shirt pocket, right? So all the ink from the pen is now on your shirt pocket. For the rest of the day, tell me how you're feeling. What can I do? It's just ink on the shirt. It's nothing to do with me. Is that how you feel? Genuinely? I'm not talking about it's ruined your shirt. Okay, the shirt was a Giorgio Armani and it cost you a lot of money. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, does that not hurt you? Why does it hurt you? Or let's say by mistake, as you're pulling the pen out, half your pocket comes torn. So now it's, one side of your pocket is torn. So it's just a flap of cloth that's dangling, attached to the rest of so the rest of the pocket is attached to the shirt, but there's a flap that's dangling. How does that make you feel? Are you okay like that? Or must you perhaps, go somewhere private and take off the rest of the pocket? And then, pretend like you never had a pocket? That shirt, you never had a pocket. How do you feel with half a pocket? Just in case you wore mixed socks to work and someone spotted that, now how are you feeling for the rest of the day? You know what they did to solve that problem? They introduced socks that were deliberately different colors. And that became the new fashion trend. Ta-da, problem solved. Now you don't need to vex. Why is one sock blue and the other one green? That's how it comes, don't you know? Now the guy who spots it is the idiot. See? So easy to turn the finger towards the outside world, isn't it? It used to be that the guy who came to work with the wrong pair of socks was the idiot. So what they did was, that's not fair. Let's turn the finger the other way around. Now the guy who says that you got mix and match pairs, that's not right. I think you've got the wrong sock on your foot. No, you're the idiot, because this is how socks come these days. Are you not keeping up to trend? That's what they did. Why does it hurt you? Come on, folks, these questions need answers. You may not be sat in front of me, but I want you to answer these questions. Come on. Why do you feel embarrassed when someone spots something, excuse me, something about your body that they say is out of place? Why do you all of a sudden feel that you're out of place? What's your body got to do with you? Are you not so deeply and so firmly engrossed in this idea that this body is you? You need to break this sentimental attachment. What have you got in your first aid kit? Ladies? Honestly, honest to your heart, answer this question for me. Is that not your first aid kit? And you've also got a perfume that comes in a mini size, does it not? Don't you? You've also got a deodorant that comes in a small, compact size, do you not? Do you not from time to time check yourself? Actually, that needs a touch more of deodorant. So you rush to the washroom, take the deodorant stick and apply it wherever you need to, and then you feel like, thank God. Peace has been restored. My wounded soul has been healed. It's called the first aid kit because it keeps your wounded soul from breaking down until you get back home where you have your operation theatre. That's what's called the dressing table, right? The operation theatre? Of course, you can't carry your dressing table around with you wherever you go, so you have a mini version of that. That's your first aid kit. And then at home, you have your operation theatre. How many drawers does it have? Yeah, just this afternoon, right after you listen to the sermon this evening, walk up to your dressing table and now look at it, having listened to the sermon. With this new information, look at it from a fresh perspective, top to bottom, see what you see. Are you seeing something you never saw before? Can you see that big mirror? What is it there for? Your faithful mirror, is it not there to give you answers when you ask it questions? Mirror, mirror. Look at all the shelves on the dressing table. How many different types of product do you have on there? How many bottles? How many sprays? How many cans? How many tubs? How many tubes? How many brushes? How many types of pastes? Are you telling me that what you're carrying around with you is not a burden? The day you are able to distinguish between this body and yourself, folks, I tell you, you will not overvalue this body. Right now it's utterly overrated. It's so overrated. You're giving it more credit than it deserves. You're giving it more time from your valuable life than it deserves. Just think about this for a moment, right? Throughout this journey in samsara, this love relationship that you've had with your body, mind, which is, let's say, as we're saying for the time being, where the soul lives, where the self lives, and this body, this love relationship that you've had with it. It always broke down, right? So it was never a lasting relationship. How many partners have you had by now? How many partners have you had by now? My question is, every single time, who was it that called it quits? Was it you or was it your body? Who was it that said, you know what, I've had enough of you, I'm going? Who was it that always got the dump, and who gave the dump? Each and every single time, aren't you the one who got dumped? Each and every single time. Is it not your body that said to you, you know what, I gotta go, that's it, I'm not serving you no more? I'm serving you no more, I gotta go. And then left you stranded. Go and find some other one. Go and find someone else. I've had enough being with you, I'm off. You know what we're trying to do now? For once, in this long journey in samsara, I'm asking you to give your body the dump. Because when the body dumps you, what you do is you go and find another body. When you dump the body, that's it. Do you get me? They say invest time in studying your relationships. Oh, of course. That's exactly what I'm asking you to do. How much time did you put to studying your relationship? Your most intricate relationship. Some relationships last for a few years, some for a few weeks, some for a few days, some for a lifetime. I'm talking about a relationship that lasted a whole samsara. But each lifetime, within that journey in samsara, who got dumped? Did the mind dump the body, or did the body dump the mind? How about for once you dump the body before it dumps you? Yeah, that's what every time it came to you and said, you know what, we can't do this anymore. It's not you, it's me. That's what the body said, right? It's not you, it's me, right? So don't think too much about it. It's not you, it's me. So I'm off. How about this time round? You tell your body, you know what? I think we got to call it a day, right? But it's not you, it's me. I've changed. I've moved on. You can't serve my needs anymore. I'm off. Are you okay with being dumped? Loser? Are you okay with being called a loser? I want you to imagine this also, right? Say you're with a partner, a real partner. Okay, say if you're a man with a woman, if you're a woman with a man. Okay, you go somewhere. It's a party, some other social gathering, and there are people around you. There are friends of yours, right? If you're the man, just for the sake of this debate, if you're the man and your friend looks at you and your partner, and he knows about her. He knows that she's a playful one. He knows, and so does everyone else in the room, right? That this lady that you call your partner is a playful one. She's just playing you around. And eventually, she's going to take everything you've got and then leave you. Okay? So your friends know that. The only person that doesn't know that is you. You don't want to accept that. You don't want to, excuse me, you don't want mentally to come to terms with that. Because you don't want to feel about this person, this partner of yours in that way. The reason for that is because you feel your partner is a huge proportion of how you define yourself and your identity, your personality. You think that she says a lot about me. I'm telling you, yes, indeed she does. She says a lot about you. Let me help you connect the dots. I'm giving you a metaphor to think along. Or a simile even. You're with a partner at a social gathering. All your friends know that she's a trickster. She'll trick you for your money. She'll take everything you've got. And while she's with you, she may give you a few simple pleasures. But one day, when she's had enough, she's the one who's going to call quits. And she's going to be off, leaving you stranded. Okay, so everyone else knows this. The only one that doesn't know this, or the only one that doesn't want to accept this, is you. How do you feel about that? That being the case, how do you feel about that? Isn't that what's going on, really? When you walk up to me, I look at you, I can see that you're with a partner. And I know that she's a trickster. And I know that she's here for your money. She'll give you a few simple pleasures, but she'll take everything with her when she goes. She'll leave you stranded, she'll leave you penniless. Who am I talking about? Who am I talking about? See, until you know this truth, you spend every penny you have, you spend many hours of your time, many days perhaps, looking after her, tending to her, taking care of her. What more? You'll be feeding her. You'll wash her. Not just wash, you'll even wash her backside. Don't you? Or do you hire someone to do that? Are you not the one who washes your partner's backside? Are you not the one who brushes your partner's teeth? Are you not the one who feeds her? Are you not the one who dresses her? Who fixes her when she's broken? Who makes her comfortable? Lays her down when she's feeling tired? Are you not the one who gives her massages when she's feeling exhausted and painful and when she's hurting? Are you not the one? Who's the most ungrateful partner? The most ungrateful partner. For all you're doing for her, does she give you any meaningful pleasure in return? Those little pleasures are all simply, if you think about it, she's been giving you pain throughout your life, and then there's a tiny moment where she stops complaining. That's what you call pleasure. There are a few tiny moments like that. 3 times a day you have to feed her. 2 times a day you have to wash her bottom. At least once or twice a day you have to wash her head to toe. You have to trim her nails. You have to cut her hair, brush her teeth, take her to the doctor. I'm saying your friends know this. And they're talking to you and now they're asking you, dude, what's up really? Come on, what are you doing? You're spending all your energy, you're spending all your money, everything you have on this woman. Look at what she's doing to you. She's going to be leaving you one day. For good. She's never coming back. What if you still remain hopeful? But I think she really loves me. I don't think she'll go. I'm giving you food, I'm giving you instruction, I'm giving you advice, I'm giving you guidance so you can break this sentimental attachment. That's why I'm taking this body to the laundress. And showing you from every different angle that it's simply meaningless to cling on to this physical body and to consider it to be you. I'm I'm almost personifying this body and showing you that you are one and the body is another. So that you can break that connection. You've got to stop thinking of this body as being you. How do you know you're still feeling that way? Did I not remind you of some of the embarrassing moments in your life? Or what if someone else sneezes and some of their snot get on your body? How does that make you feel now? Ew. Isn't that how you feel? Why? Biochemically, what's the difference between that snot and the snot that came from your nose? It's the same chemistry. So what's the problem? This is me. I don't want your snot on me. See? Do you not see that you can be made to hurt? I can hurt you. I can hurt you by calling you names. I can hurt you by saying things about your body. Are you okay with that? This is a wake-up call, folks. Are you okay with the fact that I can hurt you by saying things about your body? If I call you fatso, does that hurt you? If I call you shorty, does that hurt you? If I call you Pinocchio because you've just got a nose that's a bit longer than everybody else, does that hurt you? You've got a little bit too much body hair. If I call you Wolverine, does that hurt you? Is it you that has a little bit too much body hair? You? Break it, break it, break it. As I said, let these words sink through your mind and cleanse those defilements. Break this bond. You do this, you do as I say, you won't stop short of becoming an anagami. But you got to do this. Not just at the sermon, of course, which I've talked about previously. So I needn't say that again. If you've got a bold patch on your head, if I call you Boldy, does that hurt you? If I call you Handaya, does that hurt you? If you're a little bit elderly and I call you Chaminda, does that hurt you? Does it? Why? Remember, it's not me that's hurting you. You're hurting yourself. Because if I was the one who was hurting you, then when I rid myself of ignorance and attachment, which are the causes of suffering, then you should be free of suffering, right? If I'm the one who's hurting you, and hurt is something, or pain is something, or suffering is something that comes from me to you, and if the cause of suffering is ignorance and attachment, when I rid my mind of ignorance and attachment, then you can no longer be suffering. Apparently, because I'm the one who brings you suffering. But if suffering is created within the mind, then there's no point in me doing anything. in terms of ridding the mind of ignorance and attachment, on my side, for you to be free of suffering, that you have to do by yourself. You get that? I'll be surprised if there are young women these days, particularly young women these days, who would not have gone on Google and typed in, what is the typical size of chest, stomach, hips? What are the perfect size? You're telling me that doesn't happen? Wake up. If you have a daughter, right, who's a teenager, I'll bet she's done it. She's gone online. She's typed in, how big should they be? How big should this be? How big should that be? How slim should I be? How tall should I be? What's this freckles? What's this black spots? What are these pimples? What would guys think about it? What would other girls think about it? Can you see she's lost? Why does a guy wear his cap front side back? Can you see he's lost? Why does a guy wear his trousers on his hips? Can't you not see he's lost? Why do they wear torn jeans, for heaven's sake? The funny thing is, they're more expensive than the good ones. Come on, wake up, people, wake up, wake up. I told you last week, the week before, observe what's going on around you. See how much people are deluded. Their whole world is this body and how they adorn this body. That has become the purpose of their life. Buddhas come and pass away. Buddhas come and pass away. And more Buddhas come and pass away. People are spending their life in front of the mirrors. Good heavens, what's come of this world? Think about it. I won't talk about body piercings. Oh, I just did. Sorry. Something tells me this sermon shouldn't be broadcast. But hey, if this is the last sermon that they're going to let me do, then you better pay attention. I want to wake you all up. Come on, wake up, wake up. Just look at what people are doing. What's with the nose studs? What's with the ear studs? What's with the belly button studs? Okay, personal preferences, I've got nothing against it. I'm not saying any of that is wrong. All I'm saying is, what are they trying to achieve? What are they trying to achieve by doing that? How come adorning this body can give someone a sense of greater self? The fact that that is possible should be impossible. That is delusion wholesale. All these things, they come with time, don't they? I mean, I don't recall my great-grandparents piercing their bodies with things. I mean, they pierced the cow that was at home so they could put the rope around the nose. That they did. They didn't do it to their own bodies. They marked their cattle to make sure that the cow didn't go astray, and they could identify who this cow belonged to. They didn't tattoo themselves. Is it wrong? That's not my call. I'm not here to say whether it's right or wrong. Clearly they've decided to do that because they think it's right. Who am I to say it's wrong? What I'm saying is, I'm asking you to think about the reasons why they feel that that is right. Those reasons, to me, are wrong. I'm not debating the action. I'm debating the causes that led to that action. The validity of those causes. The integrity of those causes. To me, they don't make sense. Because they have accepted wholeheartedly that this body is me. So therefore, as I adorn this body, as I add things to it, as I make changes to it, that makes me look good. How? Again, coming back to women, why are you so embarrassed about facial hair? I'm not talking about, okay, that's what everyone says is, custom, right? This is convention, fine. I'm not talking about convention, and do abide by convention. What I'm asking you to do, and what I'm asking you is, when you spot facial hair on your face, clearly that's why it's called facial hair, when you spot facial hair, does that not hurt you a tad bit? Does that not make you feel uncomfortable? Does that not put you at unease? Does that not make you feel like something's wrong? This doesn't feel right. I've got to get this out before someone sees. Why the before someone sees? Why? If you get hair on your upper lip, why does it bother you so much? If you go back several generations, it was perfectly fine for both sexes to have hair all over their body. But think about the status quo now. Have you not seen how, have you not observed how over the last few generations things have started to change so rapidly? People are making so many changes and alterations to their physiques, to their bodies. You're telling me people are advancing? They're more intelligent? Really? People are flying to the moon, yes. They're reaching out for the stars, yes. They want to land on Mars and start a habitation there, yes, yes, yes. But they've lost their bearings back at home. You're carrying an unnecessary burden. When you understand this, folks, women, ladies, listening to this sermon, facial hair or any other hair, that won't bother you one bit. You'll have moved on. If it still bothers you, you're suffering unnecessarily. You have a wounded soul. If you're carrying your first aid kit with you everywhere you go, I'm not saying stop doing that. Please take my words as I mean them, not as you think I mean them, as I mean them. Put on your makeup, that's fine. Put on your deodorant, that's fine. Wear some perfume, please. Do all that. I'm talking about the fact that right before you make those alterations to your body, the way it is, that bothers you, does it not? That bothers you. It hurts you, makes you feel uncomfortable. You feel like you are not home. You know, they say home is where the heart is. When you see that body right first thing in the morning in front of the mirror, right, do you feel like that's where your heart is? Your heart is far from that. Your heart is in the pages of the Cosmopolitan magazine. Your heart is in the pages of the fashion magazines. Your heart is, you know, with the models, the supermodels. That's where your heart is. So therefore you are not at home. You're not at peace. Do understand that what I mean by this is not to, you know, go by what I read in the pages of health science syllabus page, you know, textbook I read at school, you know, that your body is perfect the way it is, it's beautiful, accept it. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying disconnect. Sever that connection. You and the body are two distinct entities. You are not your body. Don't let anything, no matter what state your body is in, hurt you mentally. That's an unnecessary suffering. If you lost a finger on one of your hands, right, say some accident, and you know it's healed now, but you lost the finger. Next time you see a friend, would you not try and hide it? I mean, you know, of course you can't hide the finger you don't have. What I mean is, would you not try to hide the fact that you don't have a finger? Would you not? Let alone a finger. If you lost a nail on one of your fingers, would you not try to hide it? What if you lost one of your front teeth? What about if you lost one of your dentines? or one of your canines. How do you feel? Would you not be embarrassed? The two most front teeth, one of them lost. Right? It fell, and that's it. End of story. That's your second set of teeth. So you're not going to get another one of those. And there was, you didn't need it. You can survive with just one tooth. Okay, no infections. That's all been looked after, and they're not going to give you a fake tooth, right? Nothing. You're just going to have to live like that. Whenever you open your mouth to smile, would you smile again? Let alone that, how some people, the front teeth, they protrude forward, right? Some people, they'll refrain from smiling because they feel embarrassed. I'm not saying so don't use dentures or anything like that, because clearly they can have medical implications. Fine, go ahead. Do whatever you need to do. Because sometimes some conditions, if you don't fix them, later on they're going to give you a lot of pain and hardship. So fix them while you can. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying if your teeth protrude forward, I have seen people do this, folks, and I feel so sorry for them. That's what I'm talking, that is why I'm saying this to you. I feel so sorry for them. Today I feel more sorry for them than I used to. They won't smile, because when they smile, people will see that their front teeth protrude forward from their lower jaw, and they feel embarrassed. Why is ignorance and attachment doing this to people? Why are ignorance and attachment so vile and so wicked? Why does ignorance and attachment make people feel that their physical body is them? Abide by convention. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're doing something for the sake of convention, you're doing it because convention expects it of you. Not you want to do it for your mental peace of mind or for your mental peace. You must understand the distinction between those two. They are worlds apart. With one, the former, you're doing it because others expect it of you. The latter, you're doing it because you expect it of yourself. Others' expectation of you cannot bring you suffering. If that were the case, the Buddha would not have become the Buddha. So we would not have had a Buddha. When he became the Buddha, there were others who still expected things of him. Why did Devadatta start a rift with him and cause a schism in the Sangha? So expectations coming from the outside, they'll never stop. They'll never stop. Even after you're dead, they'll keep expecting things from you. Don't they? Even after they're dead, they'll keep expecting from you. Either they'll expect you to leave the rest of the family alone, or they'll expect you to come and do things on behalf of the family. So they'll bring a kattariya to learn to wield you, to domesticate you. So even after you're dead, expectations won't stop. That is not what causes suffering. Your expectation causes your suffering. You are responsible for your own suffering. You will jump a huge leap forward, folks, if you can sever this connection. You need to disconnect between the physical and the mental. I'm saying for the time being, let the self dwell in the mind. Okay, let's accept that as being true for the time being. Because you sense it, you want somewhere to put it. Okay, put it in the mind box. Let go of the body box. Try and do it before you are one day in the body box. Let go of that. That's a sentimental attachment. That's a meaningless attachment. Every time someone can say something about your body and that hurts you, do you not realize that you are suffering unnecessarily? Huh? Not they are making you suffer. You are suffering. I mean suffering there in terms of the verb. You are suffering. You are making suffering. You are producing suffering. Hence you are suffering. If you understand these words, if you make sense of it, you will be able to make that disconnect. The body has nothing to do with you. It's just a tool. So dump it. Give it the dump. Call it a day. Call it a day. And say, it's not you, it's me. I've changed. I no longer have any need for your services. You can stay for as long as you want, but then I don't need you, so you're free to go whenever you want. That's how you become a free man. This applies the same, not just for humans, but for deities. If they're out there listening to all this, the same concepts apply. You are not your body, gods. You are not your body. So whatever you see out there, the other goddesses and the other deities and all that, none of that is them. How can that be them when this is not you? If the body is you, you shouldn't have to do anything you don't want to do. Do you not do a lot of things you don't want to do to your body? Do you not do a lot of things you don't want to do to your body? Who here likes brushing their teeth twice a day? Oh, I really like brushing teeth. Come to the monastery, you've got about 70 people here who don't really enjoy that all that much. So your job, for the sake of merits, you can just stand there twice a day, hold a brush, and you can brush our teeth for us. And of course, once you're done with that, there's a lot of old people's homes. They can't even lift the brush, so you can go and brush their teeth for them. Why? Because you like brushing teeth. You just said so. No? Okay, so are you not having to do things you don't want to do to your body? I think along those lines. I don't need to give you any more examples. So if the body is you, why would you need to do things that you don't want to do? Break that connection. Then when you're wounded, when your body is wounded, you won't be wounded. Still take your makeup kit with you, but you will no longer need to call it your first aid kit. Right now, it's a first aid kit. Stop using the word makeup kit, because it's not one. The day you're an anagami, now that's a makeup kit. Because you need to make it up. Only things that are broken need to be made up. You don't make up things when they're not broken. Right now, that's a first aid kit. Because really, as you're making up the outside, you're healing the inside. Yes or no? You know the answer. Gents, when you put one leg over the other and start wagging your foot like a dog wags its tail, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is it simply for physical comfort? Because, perhaps one might do it for physical comfort. Because, your foot's just gone numb. That's why you put your leg on top of the other and you're now shaking it to get some blood through the vessels. Or is it because it makes you feel important? It makes you feel like you're someone. Isn't that why you say don't do it when there's someone senior to you in your presence? See? So if it's for the sake of relieving from physical pain, don't take a paracetamol when you have your elders around you. What? So if it's to relieve yourself from physical pain, then it makes perfect sense to do it anytime. It shouldn't really matter who's around. But do you not see that there's a label attached to that posture? It carries a certain. It says something, doesn't it? When you're sat in that position, in that posture, one leg over the other and shaking it frantically. What is that saying? I'm an important person. That's why you don't do it when you have your seniors around you. Only the senior most person does it, isn't it? See? So he can show you that he's important. And then the crossed arms. I'm important. That's the stance of the alpha male, right? Animals also do that. The deer with the largest antlers, that's the alpha male. So when you stand upright, arms crossed, do you not feel like you're the alpha male? Oh, what a simpleton you are. You seek such simple pleasures. So the way you stand gives you importance, huh? So your body is what you rely on. Your body is what you draw your sense of importance from, huh? So your body is what you draw your identity from, your personality from, right? Isn't that why I say don't stand like that? It affects your personality. Don't walk like that, it affects your personality. Don't talk like that, it affects your personality. Don't sit like that. It damages your personality. So there's a way you got to stand. Young people, they find it really odd to stand with their hands out of their pockets, don't they? So you're standing for a bus, right? You either got to be having your phone in your hands, or you got to have your hands in your pockets. It's just so weird to have your hands, your arms dangling just in free air. Why? Because it gives you a sense of importance. Either arms crossed, arms in pockets, they give you a sense of importance. Or there's a better one. There's you can get your key ring in your finger and then keep turning it on your playing with it. That's swirling it around. That gives a sense of importance. Oh, and there's another one. That's when you lean on something. Legs crossed, right? Standing, legs crossed, and you lean on something, and hands in pockets. Sense of importance, doesn't it? Like I'm an easygoing guy. Oh, then there's more. When you use your hands and you do various things with your fingers. Now you bend your second finger, third finger extended, fourth finger bend, right? Like the rapsters do. I've seen crabs do that. Right, they have those things at the front, right? They go tuck, 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 right, on left and right. They have the claws like that. I've seen young boys. They can't even say good morning without doing something like with their hands. Is it wrong? That's not my call. That's not what I'm here to talk to you about. I'm saying I've got nothing against the results. I've got nothing against the end results. I've got everything to do with the causes. I want you to think about why people feel they have to do things like that. That's what they draw their sense of importance from. They feel important when they're standing like that. They feel important when they're walking like that. They feel they're important when they're talking like that, when they're sitting like that, when they're pointing their fingers like that. So they draw their sense of importance, their sense of worth, their sense of value from this physical body. because this is me. Take some time and reflect on these things. Because I don't expect one sermon and that's it. You've perfected Kaya and Pasana. I say I've got it, Swaminathan. Do you remember one day I read out or told you about a story about a man who talked about his addiction to, again I'll be careful in my choice of words, you'll know what I mean, self-gratification, his addiction to that. Can you see how meaningless that is? Remember I asked you last week, have you seen a backhoe driver get in the backhoe and using his levers to extend the arm of the backhoe to rub the backhoe itself? That's so weird, isn't it? But he gets off the backhoe, goes home, you'll find answers to all those problems and difficult places you're stuck in your life in these words. Go back and listen to this sermon again. Reflect on what we discussed. How many examples have I given you by now? How many similes did I draw on? Each time showing you that this meaningless sentimental connection to this physical presence is simply an extra unnecessary burden. You deserve freedom. That is why I'm talking to you. I'm trying to let you out on parole. That's why I'm talking to you. I don't want you to serve your life sentence. I'm on your side, folks. It might hurt this, but I'm on your side. When you need to break out of prison, sometimes you'll need to creep through tiny little crevices and little openings and through tunnels. Sometimes barely scratching on barbed wire. It'll hurt, but bear in mind that your destination is well worth all the pain and 100,000 times more. So reflect on those words. Go back and reflect. Try and find some time to listen to the sermon again. You can meditate on this, on what you have listened today. Sometimes it may, some sermons, you're not doing yourself service by perhaps multitasking, doing something else while listening to the sermon. Then you don't allow the words to sink in and cleanse those defilements. Ideally, particularly those which you feel, really resonated with you, try and find some time to listen to it in your own quiet time. You don't have to sit down, stand up and walk. Listening to the sermon, meditate. This is meditation. Reflecting. Walk up and down in your backyard, or along the corridor, at home, wherever. Sit under your apple tree and contemplate. Then you'll also have a eureka moment. Okay. Let us take a moment to transfer the merits we have all acquired today, and we'll bring the sermon to a close. Let us all then take a moment to transfer the merits we have all acquired by making offerings to the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, chanting Pirit, listening to the Dhamma and engaging in various meritorious deeds today. Let us first and foremost remind ourselves of how incredibly fortunate we are to be in receipt of the Lord Buddha's teaching. With immense gratitude, let us transfer these merits to the Bhikkhu, Bhikkhunis, Upasakas and Upasikas, who since time immemorial have protected and preserved the sublime teachings of the Buddha and passed it down to the generations of the normal lineage, in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully and gratefully available to us today to study, understand and comprehend the teaching. Let us take a moment to transfer the merits we have acquired to all members of the Mahasangha present throughout the world, including the chief prelates of all their chapters, who have dedicated come rain or shine. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits and express our gratitude to those who make great efforts to disseminate the teachings of the Buddha, be that by transliterating these sermons, sharing them out with others, or inviting others to join them. And may through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful plane, redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane. May through the power of these merits they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer the merits we have acquired to our devotees, the friends of the monastery, who for the sake of merits continue to sustain the Mahasangha. This includes everyone from those of you who have contributed to the construction of the monastery, to those of you who provide the Mahasangha with shelter, arms, robes and medicines, as well as those of you who have passed on their know-how and continue to extend their well wishes. May through the power of these merits they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to our parents, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, our grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews, as well as all our other relations, friends and acquaintances, employers and employees, and to all those who have helped us, supported us, assisted us in any way, shape or form, to the best of their capacity. May the power of these merits, through the power of these merits, may they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to the Devas, Brahmas, spirits and demons, primarily the Sakadeva, as well as all the other numerous gods and deities who are committed to protect and fulfill the Sambuddha Shasana. Let us also transfer merits to our guardian deities who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. May through the power of these merits they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to our ancestors who have predeceased us, to all those who have been our families, friends, acquaintances in this infinitely long journey in samsara, and who have helped us, supported us, assisted us in every way, form and shape that they could. Let us transfer these merits to them. Let us also transfer merits to the members of the armed forces as well as the police force who have sacrificed their lives to protect the peace and harmony of our nation and continue to do so. May all who have lost their lives in the war, be their friend or foe, rejoice in these merits we have acquired today. Let us transfer these merits to all those who have lost their lives in natural disasters such as the tsunamis, earthquakes, landslides, as well as pandemics, including the most recent one we've had and which continues to prevail, reminding ourselves that among them will be those who have been friends and family to us in this infinitely long journey. Let us take a moment to transfer merits to them, and may through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in woeful planes, may they redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, let us all resolve that may through the power and the blessings of all the merits we have acquired throughout the day, we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of Arahatun Mahanses on this blessed land and in our very lives itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Finally, may through the power of all the merits we have acquired today, you and I and everyone who has helped make this program a success and passed on their well wishes and contributed in any way, shape or form, however large or small that may be, become an Arahatun Mahanse or Arahat Mehenin Mahanse in this very life and in the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the Noble Triple Gem, may the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you all forever. We will now conclude the sermon.